Hello again, everyone. Mark Hackle, Macomb County Executive, with our Sheriff, Tony Wickersham. Just got to get an update on some of the things that are going on within the law enforcement community. Tony's got a huge responsibility, not only road patrol, 911 dispatching, as well as a jail. And again, the jail population has somewhat diminished, but we're going to get a little bit more details on that with Tony. But first, interesting enough, the different types of call that they're getting in 911 and the volumes of calls, is that changed or fluctuated as a result of this COVID-19 crisis?
Well, the COVID-19 has really done a reduction of calls for service that we're seeing on the law enforcement side. Dispatch center, they're still getting alarms and different medical runs, but really the amount of activity, suspicious persons, other type of calls that we would be dispatching deputies to has reduced dramatically.
It's interesting because we're up here in Comtech and you can hear them. I mean, the dispatchers are actually below here at what they call the pit, our wow factor here. But down below, they're actually down there taking calls. You can hear some of that in the backdrop here, whatever. But again, it's no question, just having been up here and dealing with this, you hear a different type of call volume, and you don't hear the anxiety. You don't hear a lot of even criminal type activity going on right now. It's kind of eerie.
Yeah, when we look at our road patrol that we're out in those different communities, where we'd be making more officer-initiated type complaints, traffic stops, shaking doors and looking for suspicious people that may be wanting to commit crime or burglary. We really see that activity is down.
And are you doing some type of an assessment when they call in to try to make a determination of something we can take over the phone as opposed to sending an officer or having them come in?
Exactly. Over a week ago, we started with our dispatchers. They're going to be screening those calls, and if it's something that's not a crime in progress, not an emergency, something that the deputy could pull over, go to the substation or the main office, make a telephone call. We're taking those reports over the phone. We haven't done that in the past, but with this, with this crisis here, we're trying to keep everybody safe.
So, is that something that other departments are doing too? So, in other words, if somebody's listening to this right now and they're realizing, well, the Sheriff's Department does that, but I wonder if Sterling Heights, Clinton Township, East Point, are they handling things differently as well?
Yeah, most. I could speak for the Macomb County chiefs and operations. A lot of them are doing that phone reporting. So for the people that are out there, if you need to make a report, whether it's an identity theft report or some type of theft report, you don't have to go to the police department. You don't have to have a deputy or a police officer come to your house. A lot of departments will take the information and write that report and get that information over the phone.
And we're noticing too, early on, some people are concerned, geez, I might have the COVID. I don't know what to do. Should I call the doctor? Should I get 911? And there were some calls that were coming in early, but we finally have redirected people to come to the realization that if you feel like it, no different than if you feel like you have the flu or a sinus or whatever, call your healthcare provider. Don't call 911 with it. It's no different. Get advice from a healthcare provider as opposed to a dispatcher or a police officer. They're not going to come out and try to give you that advice. That's a medical condition, and it's something you need to have somebody in the medical field, I guess, give you some advice.
Right. We would just take it if, just think of it. If you had the flu and you were home, would you call 911 or would you call the dispatcher emergency to ask questions?
Yeah.
No. If you needed the ambulance or you needed an EMS response, pick up the phone, dial 911, and we'll get those resources there and take care of you.
Yeah, and we're noticing too, it's interesting that stay home, stay safe, save lives kind of policy on behalf of the governor, trying to get people to comply. We're noticing it's happening. I don't know that it's really an enforcement thing. Are you pulling people over to say, where are you headed to? Are you going to the grocery store? Are you going to a doctor visit or to some work that's necessary to be functional right now?
No, we're not making those initial contacts with individuals that are on the road. There's still a lot of people on the road that are critical workers, and again, we just don't have the resources or want to make those contacts in this crisis. What we are seeing though is using that 911, we're getting a lot of complaints that are coming in about potential businesses that may be violating that order. And again, 911 isn't the avenue for that. Use the non-emergency line, or at the Macomb County Sheriff's Office, just go to macombsheriff.com, go to email the sheriff, give us the information, and we'll look into the businesses. The order, it's long and there's a lot of interpretation, but our deputies, if there's a business open, we will ascertain whether it's critical or not. If they should be open, we will ask them to close. We will generate reports to comply with that order.
Well, I'm glad you brought it up because the order itself, you go to macombgov.org, the order is there, as well as a location to, I guess, if you will, vet questions that you may have pertaining to that. Is this business allowed to be open? Can I do this? Can I go there? All that is something that the state is going to handle. So rather than us trying to interpret the order itself, the state has a connectivity for people to ask those questions. We suggest they do that at macombgov.org. You can log right onto the governor's order itself. And I don't believe her order was meant to be something where it's martial law or, trying to figure out, how do we have people shelter or stay in place. It's more of that kind of, if you will, kind of suggestion to kind of be part of the solution as opposed to this, enforcement angle of it. I don't think that's what
I think it's more of education. Look, people, if we all stay home, if we reduce the contact, wash our hands, do everything that's recommended from the CDC, we can reduce the possibility of the disease spreading. But as it relates to what business should be open or not open, what's critical, our deputies don't have that expertise or looking at that order and saying, well, we're going to go on out, we'll talk to people, we'll remind them of the order, and again, we'll generate reports, but we're not coming in there, we're not going to be shutting down.
And nor should we. We're not going to, the interpretation, I would not even do that. So macombgov.org, check it out. You can see the order. You can kind of get questions maybe answered, whatever. But it's interesting because we talk about the compliance side of this. And, ComTech, which is our Communication Technology Center, police, fire, EMS out of here, emergency management, our IT systems, and even roads, all under one roof. We did this years ago. You were part of that process to kind of create this. And nowhere else in Southeast Michigan, or I should say probably in North America, do they have what we have here. And we're fortunate. But that being said, here we're looking at some of the major roadways in Macomb County. Metro Parkway, whether it's at Mound or Freedom Hill, and even M59, Groesbeck Highway. These are heavily traveled roadways here in Macomb County. Usually you just see a ton of traffic in and around these roadways. And right now, it's virtually a kind of a ghost town, I guess, if you will.
People are staying home. People are listening to us.
And that's exactly what we're asking for. And I think that was the intent of the order itself, was looking for compliance. Unfortunately, here in Macomb County, people are doing just that. Again, flatten the curve, social distancing, and if you don't need to be out, don't be out. But I'm starting to see people are becoming more in tune to that, so fortunately.
And we're doing what needs to be done. And if we all do our part, we'll get this over with quickly and we can get things back to normal.
Yeah, and speaking about doing your part, the other question is, how's it going with the jail? I mean, it's like, populations, back when I was there working with you, you used to have 1,400 inmates in a jail at one time. We're looking at early release, which was, kind of thrust upon us to try to figure out who we let out, how we not let them out,
and get them up.
Working with the judges to try to figure out, can they come up with a bed allocation and all that. But now, what are you seeing in the jail?
2 a.m. this morning, we were at 634 inmates.
That's amazing.
There's quite the reduction, and we know that there's reductions in court services and the amount of services and hearings that they're having. But you look, there's not people out on the streets. There's not people.
So you think it's part of the mindset? I mean, when I step back and look at the numbers, I mean, we realize we got these specialty courts right now.
Yeah.
You got a different mindset from the judges. We just put in play, this public defender's office, if you will, that really hasn't got up and running just yet. But I think it's going to add to that, I guess, negating the need for population. But that understanding that we need to work with the population differently, you think that had something to do with the reduction of it early on?
Early on, yeah, because we could say we were at 1,200, 1,100 a year and a half, 2 years ago, and then the last year we've been into the 800s, high 800s.
Yeah.
So that really had an impact on it. But now with Corona, we've gone from 8 to the 6s.
Okay. So you don't think this COVID thing had the drastic reduction? It's kind of already been moving in this direction, but this might add a little bit to it.
Inmate population has been on the decline for the past couple of years because of what the criminal justice system has been implementing and the judges have been doing to reduce the population and saying if those people are in jail, they need to be in jail to protect the community.
And so how are you dealing with that confined population with the concerns of this coronavirus? I got to believe it's like on everybody's mind, like, gosh, we hope nothing happens. We hope somebody doesn't test positive.
We've been putting policies and procedures in place since the early February 9th, where additional screenings of all new inmates coming in. We're segregating the new inmates coming in, putting them in a different section of the jail. We'll let them stay in there for a week. We'll medically assess them before we move them up into the population. I've said it several times that that jail population is probably the safest. Those individuals have been in that facility for a period of time. They haven't been out on the streets. They haven't traveled. Their likelihood of getting the coronavirus is reduced because they have been incarcerated. Yeah. So we're doing what we can.
Yeah, we're again, we can't thank enough the first responders, the law enforcement officers out there, whether from your department or any department here in Macomb County, as well as the 911 dispatchers, and even the people working inside the jail and those that are supporting those services. So we're fortunate. Government has to run. We have to continue functioning. If for no other reason, obviously the criminal justice system still has to stay intact. But you know what? The efforts being put forth and everybody pitching in and realizing we got to be part of this because this is what we signed up to do. You know, we obviously want to thank them for all their efforts and
I
work.
do,
they're doing.
and especially I can speak on behalf of my staff. I mean, I have men and women that want to come to work, want to be part and help out during this crisis.
And they want to pitch in.
Yep.
On that note, we did, you know, I reached out, I know you did too, with Benny Napoleon, the loss of one of their commanders. Don Frey, he was a great person, great individual. You know, apparently he lost his life, succumbed to this coronavirus just yesterday. Our thoughts and our prayers are with the Wayne County Sheriff's Department, and you know, Benny, if you're listening again, you know, we can't thank you enough for the efforts you did, but again, our thoughts and our condolences as a result of, you know, the loss of one of your members there. So with that, I want to thank you for tuning in once again. Just kind of quick update, and thank Sheriff Wickersham and his team for making sure that they're trying to continue to keep us safe, even under these incredible conditions that we're dealing with this coronavirus. So in the meantime, stay home, stay safe, save lives, and if you can, keep yourself healthy. Thank you very much.